Happy New Year's Eve. So I came back to YouTube in May of this year, recording my backyard in the springtime, which is one of my favorite things when everything starts to bloom and wake up. And so I wanted to catalog all of the things that were beautiful and highlighted this year because it was a great garden season, but it was also a heart garden season. So I wanted to go through those things that were beautiful wins for me. So this was the first video that I did in May, just showing you my backyard garden and everything that was starting to wake up. And you can see I keep this thing packed. So it is stuffed full of beautiful things, but there's my arborvitae, which is about 3 feet, just under 3 feet. So I am hoping that it will hit its 6 to 10 foot mark. And there's my calla lily, sky pencil hollies, and there's my peony that was just starting to come into bloom. And back there, you can see my rocket barberries, my peony, all hung over because of all the water that we got. There was like a week of rain at this time, so it got hit. This was my new addition, a Golden Falls Redbud. Super pretty. I have to show you guys the pink blooms that come out in the springtime. Those were my gladiolus that I completely forgot about because I told you I keep this thing packed, y'all. So I did not even remember they were back there. Cryptomeria japonica, new addition. It actually didn't make it. And these were my Shasta daisies putting on buds but not blooming yet. Those are some muscari, and there's also some hyacinth down there, and another barberry. And just looking around right in front of me, that is a spilled wine Weigela, blooms in the spring. This is a peach tree, a red harvest, and that, those are both, what do you call those things? They love hummingbirds, love them. Fuchsia, excuse me. And that is my Japanese maple that I have to get out of the backyard. It's just too sunny back there for it. This was one of my arrangements I put together: Persian shield plant, some verbena, some impatiens, and then some dichondra silver falls. This is what it looks like in May and how pretty it was, right? It's gonna go crazy. This was a blackberry plant that I bought. I am gonna keep it. I'm gonna replant it in the dirt somewhere where it can really thrive and give me blackberries, which I absolutely love. And that was an arborvitae danica, didn't make it. I think I went back there to show you one of my Anna's Magic Ball arborvitae, and that was to replace that. This was one of my first, actually, this was not one of my first, this was my actual first purchase of a rose. I've never had roses before. I'm absolutely now in love. They smell heavenly. Perfume Factory is such an apt name, and this is the exact same as the other one. This is my little quick fire hydrangea that puts out like this shaped blooms, and that's a little dish of sempervivums that live outside. They do perfectly fine there. I never move them. And this is just my furniture, my Texas Star, always repping Texas. And yeah, I think I was just showing the backyard. These are Lenten roses or hellebores. There's hostas, and the purple, those are heucheras. And I've got some fern there, as well as I'm really zooming in on the heucheras, which are super pretty. They die back a little bit, but they pretty much keep the same color. And I don't know what kind of ferns these are. I literally got them from Home Depot. And then there's also some Brunnera, which dies back the same way that the hostas do, but it comes back. And that was pretty much it. I was just walking around and showing you. I'm going back to these peonies because, oh my God, look at that color. What? What? Gorgeous. Okay, I'm on the upper deck. I was giving a tour of my upper deck. This was also still in May. And I keep the edibles up there because squirrels. Squirrels are thugs. Squirrels are thugs. I said it before, I'll say it again. Squirrels are thugs. They will eat your food. And so I moved my edibles up to here so I can have a little more control. Also, I have a dog, and he tends to come out if he sees something, he can bark and scare them away. But you can see I had lemon balm, I had mint, I had lots of thyme, and I've cut all these things back now so it doesn't look the same. But oh, in the springtime, isn't everything just this bright, beautiful green? And it's just enticing you. So that was my oregano, also in the mint family. Don't plant it in the ground unless you want that smoke. This was my strawberries, and that is a jalapeno plant. And I usually underplant with alyssum because alyssum brings beneficial bugs that will eat things that want to eat those things. So, more strawberries. Absolutely delicious. Remember, first you get the flower, then you get the fruit. So gorgeous. These were my turnips that were a fail because I really planted them too late, but spring will be coming soon and I will try again. These were my carrots, and I had planted the seeds, and that was the greenery that came up, which was super dope. This was how my basil started, y'all. Just the little, I start everything from seed, and they were super tiny, and you're like, oh wow, it's tiny, sad little basil. But it put on. It put on, it showed out. Let her cook. So that was my marigolds. This is another arrangement I put together. Oh, this coleus is gorgeous. This one is a white verbena. And then under there is creeping Jenny, which I don't plant this every year. Creeping Jenny is perennial in my area, so it's going to come back. So I usually just cut it back, and then you see it starting to grow out, and it was growing over the edge of my deck pretty much by the end of the season. But this was very early in May. This was my spinach, my dill, and what else did I have in there? I had spinach, I had dill, cilantro. So you can see the cilantro there. This is it's a flex. Going outside to pick your own dill, that's a flex. I planted these tubers, and so these were my dahlia tubers that I planted, and they had not yet come up. And the deck was a mess, y'all. So I hadn't really straightened it up. So that's what you're looking at, the very, very messy deck. But let her cook. She gets better. This was my watermelon seedlings. So these were the crimson sweet watermelon seedlings, and they were not looking great, but I had a great year with my crimson sweet, so I'm super excited about that. This is where I planted some potatoes and was waiting to see how those would do. I saw absolutely nothing at that point. It was a container of dirt, but hope springs eternal. This is all that we do as gardeners. We're just hoping. We're putting the seeds in soil and we're waiting. Come on, God. So these were my sugar baby watermelon seedlings that had popped up, and I had some marigolds in there as well. And then you can see and I put a little alyssum. And then if you see that thing in the middle, that was a cabbage. My cabbages actually did really great. I ate them. They didn't get huge, but I need more space. So that's, oh, that was a house plant that was very, very sad. She didn't make it. And I don't play these games with the house plants. For the streets, outside, released, gone, done with it. This was ginger I was trying to grow. I didn't get anything off the ginger from the store. These were seedlings that I planted for my tomatoes. I planted Roma, and I planted some cherry tomatoes that I'd gotten before as well from, I want to say, David Seeds. These tomatoes are so delicious. I've been eating them every year for like the last 3 years. So they started to grow from their seedlings. These were bell peppers that I had purchased because I thought the seeds that I planted weren't growing. I was wrong, and that's a view of the downstairs. Oh, so pretty in the springtime, y'all. New day. This is a June tour. So my Asiatic lily started to bloom. Oh, that color so pretty, as well as my Coreopsis. So together looking gorgeous. My dwarf crepe myrtles that are not dwarf the way that they're supposed to be dwarf. Sky pencil hollies with all that new color, and that's my calla lily that was growing in the last one. Underplanted there, those are asters, and these are my Shasta daisy starting to bloom. Oh my gosh, that was so pretty. It was just so pretty back there, guys. I just was literally sitting in the backyard. I would just sit back there and enjoy it. Born in the garden, forced to work. Truer words were never spoken. But yeah, it was just so pretty in June. It wasn't really hot in Maryland yet. And this is a perennial that comes back, and I forget about it every year, but it puts out a big pink flower on top, and it dies back to the soil. You can kind of see a little of it, but then it comes back every year. Absolutely gorgeous. But it did okay there. It probably would like a little more light, but it is what it is. Look at my rose blooming. I wish we had smell-o-vision, y'all. You have no idea. That was exciting that it bloomed and it smelled heavenly. Just amazing. So sweet. My first foray into sweet potatoes, somebody gave me slips, and that was the beginning of my sweet potato slips. Very exciting because I actually did get some sweet potatoes. This is that container from earlier in the video, so you can see the difference from May to June. Abundance. Absolutely gorgeous. I would just take my laptop out there and sit and work. This was my Loropetalum that I purchased, Chinese fringe flower, and oh, so pretty. I absolutely love it. It lives in my front yard now, so I actually moved it. This was my first foray into getting clematis, and then I underplanted it with some calibrachoa. I wanted to give you guys a night view of my yard when I turned the lights on. It was summertime, spring still, so everything stayed light, but you can see I have everything lit up. This is the heaven that I like to chill in at the end of the workday or sometime during the workday. It's so much peace for me, but just awash in color and beautiful, and I just sit back there and chill. Okay, this was me harvesting my first carrots. Carrots, very exciting. And I'd made some changes to the deck and cleaned it up. So I changed out my cushions, which were really old and beat up. And so I got these new blue ones. And then I arranged everything nicely. These are my wildflowers, just bringing all of the pollinators that I can. Those are my purple bell peppers. These are my tomatoes starting to look pretty awesome. So those are the Romas, and these are the cherries. Do you see those tiny tomatoes on there and the flowers? Super dope. Added some rocking chairs. So it was just a place to sit and enjoy and look at my dahlia. It was really starting, it had put on so much growth, which is what I love about dahlias. It had put on so much growth and was starting to really show out. And then right next to it, I had gotten another rose because I couldn't control myself. And I had allowed my dill to go to flower so I could collect those seeds. That is the crimson sweet watermelon, just putting on lots and lots of growth. And that was my potatoes, which was the big empty container. So you see some potatoes are there now. Very exciting. I'd also got more alyssum, and then I put some flowers to entice more of the hummingbirds to come out. Those were my jalapenos starting to grow, and this is my cucumber throwing off a ridiculous amount of flowers. I'm looking forward to next year. I definitely will be growing cucumber again. It's just, again, a flex. Go out to your yard, pick your food, make whatever you're making. That's my first little watermelon. Ah! So exciting. So, yeah, what a difference a month makes. Everything was starting to look absolutely beautiful. And I every year get a hibiscus, this Hawaiian punch hibiscus every year because I'm in love with the color that it puts out. So I had just purchased that. And it was hot, y'all. It was hot. I have to watch Dante because he smells the food and he will eat. So I have to watch him. But everything was just starting to really grow and fill in, and it was super amazing and cool. And you see my basil starting to really put on some growth and look amazing. That's my Thai basil right there. And you can kind of see through the slats. That's more peppers. So these are the peppers that I literally thought had died, but they didn't. They were actually growing. So I transferred them to a container and let them keep going. And more of the watermelon just growing out because, it vines, and it was super cool. But another place to sit, harvested my very first cucumber that day, which Dante was trying to eat it. So it was a fight for me to be able to have that cucumber and not give it to him. But just in times like now, you got to remember this. You got to remember the beautiful watermelon. You have to remember, because now where it's cold and we're going into the winter time, spring soon comes. So we have to remind ourselves with these beautiful images. If you're not taking pictures and video of your garden every year, I'm going to encourage you to do it, because when we get set in with the seasonal depression and it's dark outside, we have to remember these times. That's my first dahlia blooming. From the tuber and the container of dirt, these are my wildflowers starting to bloom from seeds. Everything was from seed. So exciting. Just beautiful. And I had more carrots over there, purple bell peppers. So putting out flowers, just abundance. And more strawberries, which I ate those constantly. I need a bigger container for these things so that I can have all the strawberries that I want. But again, much like the mint and the oregano, do not put these things in the ground unless you have a way to contain them, because they will take over. They are terrible, terrible weeds. A weed is anything that's growing where you don't want it to grow. So I love strawberries, but if they're growing where I don't want them to grow, they are a weed. And look at my jalapenos. That one was ready to eat. I had so many jalapenos. How about jalapeno margaritas, y'all? Use your vegetables. It's just fun for me to grow this stuff because what? You're telling me I put a seed in the ground and this is what I get? That's super exciting. But you can see all of my watermelons growing. You can see all of my flowers. We are high on the pollinators. And you can see the blooms there on the dwarf crepe myrtles that are not dwarf. I keep saying that, but they're not dwarf. They not dwarf, but mine don't make it. And this is the first time I'm going to harvest my watermelon. So the little tendril on the end turned brown, and when that happens, you can go ahead and say it's ready to go. So I'm cutting my watermelon. I couldn't pick it up with one hand because it was a little heavy, but I was so excited, y'all. This was my first time growing one.
Okay, looks good. Okay, let's taste it. Pieces already. So good. Oh my God, it's so good.
So I'm harvesting tomatoes here. And it was a prolific tomato year. Like the tomato plants, they were slow to get started for whatever reason this year. I don't know if you guys experienced that. I definitely did. It's like the tomatoes were like, maybe, maybe not, maybe not. And then they're like, let's go. Let's go. So I had so much harvest from that. Then I actually harvested my sweet potatoes. And that's the end of garden season 2024. I want to wish you a happy new year, and I'll see you guys in 2025.